Hi there. So anyway, my name is Harry Berberian with 313 Believe, and we promote Detroit business. And today we have Saskia Thompson, the executive director of the Detroit Land Bank. So terrific. Welcome to the show, Saskia. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Great, great. So tell me a little bit about the Detroit Land Bank. I know a little bit about it from real estate investing, but it's always been an amazing site to purchase properties for a good value. As far as I know, in Detroit, Detroit's been on such an upswing. Tell us a little bit about the Detroit Land Bank for people that may, Land Bank Authority, for people that don't know enough about it.
Yeah, sure. So the Detroit Land Bank Authority has been around, I think, since around 2008, but it really took on its current role in about 2014. And essentially, our role is to return abandoned and/or foreclosed property back to productive use. So what that means is, if a house is not sold at auction through the county, somebody has abandoned it, nobody else wants to purchase it, we really are the owners of last resort. Those properties get transferred to the land bank. We also took ownership early on, 2014 and 2015, for properties that had been sitting in the city inventory, in some cases for decades, where people just walked away from their properties years ago as Detroit was really shrinking in population and those became publicly owned. Wow. So the city really didn't have the, I think, wherewithal to stand up a sales program the way that we have. So the city administration, the city council got together and decided this is where all those properties were going to go. So currently we have about 86,000 properties in our inventory, which of course is a huge amount. It's about a quarter of all real estate within the city of Detroit.
Sure.
No other land bank in the country has that kind of inventory because no other city like Detroit has the level of just physical abandonment that we do. Of that 86,000, it's about, most of it is vacant land. It's about 66,000 parcels in vacant land. Of course, this number fluctuates every single day as properties move in and out of the sales pipeline. And about 20,000 of those currently are structures. So we have a number of sales programs online. All of our properties are listed there for sale, or as they become available, we list them there for sale. And we're just, working with one buyer at a time to try and get those properties renovated and back into a place where a family can live in them.
Great. So how long has the Detroit Land Bank been around?
So again, a lot longer than I've been there. Obviously, I've been there for about 3 years, but since the state act to set it up essentially took effect in 2008, but it was a much smaller organization until the start of the Mike Duggan's first mayoral administration, at which time it really grew in magnitude. So since about 2014, the land bank has been in the role that it currently is of selling all of the properties that it has to move back into the market.
So, I'm sorry, which mayor did you say?
Mike Duggan, the current mayor.
Oh, yeah, right. So like with this whole, so Detroit Land Bank really got on the map with the whole positive resurgency of Detroit with Mike Duggan and Quicken Loans and the whole I grew up in Southfield, Michigan since like 1971. And, Detroit was always an unsafe place, scary place, watch out, blah, blah, blah. But then 2014, it was like, we were all so encouraged by what was going on that that's one of the reasons why we started 313 Believe, and one of the main reasons. And I think it's terrific. So, but you guys weren't around. Were you around in 2008 when they used to sell houses for like $500 and all that stuff?
Well, no, I wasn't here then. So
you weren't around the Detroit Land Bank,
Right. I grew up in Detroit and decided that when I was asked to take this job, that it was the right job for me and move back home to run the land bank in 2017. But the $500 property market, I think that you're referring to, is the county auction, and that still happens.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and the way that process works is the county auctions twice a year, every September and October, off properties that are tax foreclosed. So that's not the auction and it's important that we distinguish ourselves from that process because it's totally different.
Wayne County auction, completely different.
Right. What the properties that we have to sell are ones that didn't get sold through that process. So essentially, if it didn't sell for $500 at auction, it comes to the land bank. Those are the properties that we have to dispose of. And I think what's really important, I think the most important thing that the land bank does is, while we are managing our auction program, we have a compliance function. So you can't purchase a property from the Detroit Land Bank Authority and sit on it and not invest. Investment in that property is a requirement. So you can't purchase a house and let it stay in a state of disrepair or get it into further disrepair. You're obligated to fix it up in order for us to release our interest in it. Because the fundamental goal, we are trying to put people back in the houses. We're not, it's not just about eliminating the blight. That's of course incredibly important. It's at the core of our mission. But really our mission is about bringing back neighborhoods and putting people back in houses. That's what we ultimately want. And all of our programs support that in some way, shape, or form.
And that's terrific, because I mean, Detroit has been a tremendous opportunity in the last few years. People are, you know, not only making money buying and selling real estate, but you know, it's revitalizing, and Detroit Land Bank, so it has a positive mission for Detroit as well. So what are the landmarks that will signal, you know, that the Detroit Land Bank Authority has started to reach its goals?
So we're really essentially here to work ourselves out of a job. So every house that the land bank sells and gets a family in to renovate is a success in our book. And every year, as our inventory numbers tick down, that's a success. So we will not have succeeded in our mission if I still have 86,000 properties in another 2 years and 20,000 of those are vacant houses. We will only have succeeded if that number continues to go down, and we are actively working towards that goal every day.
Beautiful. So when you say 86,000, are you talking mostly property structures or vacant land? What's the ratio?
So again, it's the vast majority of it land. It's 20,000 structures that we currently have. At one point in time, we had way more than that. So about 66,000 vacant lots and 20,000 properties today. So over the past 5 or 6 years, the Land Bank Authority, using a federal grant, has demolished almost 15,000 structures with the federal money, and then in partnership with the city, an additional several thousand were torn down. So about 19,000 structures overall have been torn down in the city during that time period. And well, that's an important story, and we couldn't get to the renovation goals that we're getting to without that demolition. It's not really the most important part of our work. And anytime I have the opportunity to talk to people, I really want to stress that. The most important thing that we're doing is getting the houses that are salvageable renovated with people living in them. So we need to tear down the stuff that's too far gone. There's a lot of fire damage structures out there. Again, some of them have been in vacant for years and exposed to the elements. But if a house can be sold and renovated, that's what we're trying to do. So the 20,000 that we have left, there are still several thousand that need to be demolished, but there are also several thousand that can be renovated. And those are available for sale every single day on our website.
And that's terrific. And I usually go on there and I see, like, you know, this house, $1,000 sometimes. The opening, is it an opening bid?
The opening bid is $1,000. We have an auction pipeline where we place properties, usually about 2 a day at the beginning of the day, and that auction closes at the end of the day. We also have again, the opening bid is about $1,000. We also have a pipeline called Own It Now. These properties tend to need a little bit more work. It said, again, the opening bid is $1,000. That bid period of time, though, stays open a little bit longer. It's a little bit harder sometimes to generate interest in those properties. So we want people to be just able to browse. But again, it's the opening bid is $1,000, and sometimes they close really close to that mark, and sometimes they close far higher. It just really depends on what the interest level, the market really dictates what the interest level.
True. And then I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, once that auction closes, we work with that buyer. We put them in something we call compliance, and that's how we track them through their renovation process to make sure that they've gotten their BC permits, they've gotten their water bill turned on, and they've made the house livable. And we don't exit the process until we know that's happened. And in some cases, these properties need a lot of work, and that renovation process can take a long time. And that's okay, as long as people are making steady progress, and we're there to make sure, to really be a partner and make sure that that process goes as smoothly as it can.
So you don't really like market to, like, people that want to do like a quick flip. You are marketing it to people that actually want to do the renovation, bring it up to standards, up to code, and then if they choose to sell it, after a few years or so, maybe they would do so. But you're really, your mission is to revitalize the city of Detroit as well, and have people actually live there.
Yes, absolutely. And so in some cases, people do renovate it and then they sell it on to somebody else, and that's permitted. You can sell it to somebody else, but not until that renovation is complete. You can't sell it in the same condition that you purchased it from us, because again, we're trying to put more move-in ready properties out into the marketplace. But I think the vast majority of our buyers end up actually living in them themselves.
And that's beautiful. And I'm also familiar, I met with Quicken Loans a few years ago, and I'm familiar with the Rehabbed Ready program too. That's kind of cool. Tell us about that.
Program. And Quicken was really instrumental in setting up that program and giving the land banks the funding it needed to do this. Essentially what Rehabbed Ready does is the land bank itself, using this, the philanthropic money set aside for that purpose, we'll go in and renovate houses ourselves so that we're putting a fully move-in ready property into the market. And what that really does is it creates a comp. Anybody who's tracking the Detroit real estate market knows that there's not a lot of private, and for years there really wasn't a lot of private market activity in real estate, and in some cases it's less true now. But when the land bank first got started, we would be the majority of the market. So if you're trying to get a renovation loan or just a mortgage to purchase a property, mortgage lenders like to see comps. They want to see what else, what other properties are selling for in the market. And so the Rehabbed Ready program has allowed us to renovate houses, sell them in the market, and create that comp that other people in the neighborhood can use to leverage their own properties through the mortgage industry.
Wow, that's great.
We haven't done, in the grand scheme of things, if you look at the total number of properties we have, we've probably completed over, 75 or something like that, and have many more in the pipeline. But they've been really instrumental in setting that benchmark in neighborhoods where it encourages other people to invest.
So it's not only profitable to deal with the Detroit Land Bank Authority, because I see a lot of people making money from Detroit real estate, and they've been doing so. You're also revitalizing, which is great. I've even heard of one gentleman. I remember he was working at the Detroit Foundation Hotel downtown, and he was saying, "Oh, I want to buy this vacant land swaths in North Corktown." And he said, "But I'm dealing with the Detroit Land Bank, and they give out certain like specific land, you only release tell me about that, like they certain, like you could only buy certain something or something, because I love old North Corktown. It's a beautiful area, and I know people that really want to invest in Detroit and deal with the Detroit Land Bank. Do you know a little bit about that?"
Well, sure. And of course, I think like all things, in absence of information, people fill it in with misinformation. And I think that's an example of that happening.
Yeah.
So one of the things about the land bank that I hope people can appreciate is that, the land bank has been doing what we've been doing for, about 6 years, a little bit, give or take. And there were no models to follow. No one said, this is how you do this. This is how you turn 100,000 vacant pieces of land into something profitable to renovate neighborhoods. We really had to figure it out as we went along. And the land bank didn't do that alone. The land bank really did that in partnership with the city, and in particular, as specifically as it relates to North Corktown, with the city's planning department. We're there to sell properties, but we're not the only decision makers at the table, nor should we be. We want to make sure that there's community engagement, and there's thoughtful planning behind what we're selling and when. And we're not the party to do that. We rely on the city's planning department to do that. So they've been engaged in a planning effort in places like North Corktown. It's not the only neighborhood that they've done that in. On the east side, Jefferson Chalmers, sorry, the same sort of thing, where the planning department went in and engaged the neighbors and said, there's a lot of publicly held land. What should we do with it? And got feedback and said, here's what you can sell. So there was definitely a period of time where those parcels were not available for sale.
Sure.
That frustrated people, but we're also not trying to sell so much of it that it forces the longtime residents that have lived in a neighborhood like that out. So we have sold several parcels in North Corktown. If you drive through that neighborhood now, there's a lot of new construction housing over there that is usually, in fact, almost always, to my knowledge, on property that was formerly held by the Detroit Land Bank Authority, but we didn't make those decisions lightly, and we didn't make them all by ourselves. We did it in the context of kind of the planning goals the city itself was setting. And we're obligated to do that. We have a memorandum of understanding with the city that we won't just go off and do things without making sure that we're part of a larger neighborhood effort that the city would like to lead.
That's beautiful. So basically, there's a method to the madness that people don't understand or appreciate, and and you're not just selling out willy nilly. I mean, this is very pricey, very nice. Well, not necessarily. Well, some of it is, but it's very valuable land. I mean, it's a beautiful area in North Cork. So anyway, so how has the Detroit Land Bank Authority changed in the last 5 years? Would you say, going from 2014 with the whole evolution? So, and where do you see it headed?
So I think, in all of these conversations, we've figured out how to sell a lot of properties through the auction portfolio that we've talked about. We've really figured out how to manage the compliance function so that people know that we're going to work with them, up front, we say you have 6 months to renovate a property, because if you're not doing anything to it, we want the ability to make sure that you can't just sit on it. But as long as people are making regular progress on that rehab, our staff has learned how to do that better. So we've perfected a lot of those things, but we're now moving into areas that we didn't have as well thought out early on, in particular the sale of vacant land. So when I talk about our total inventory, most of it is vacant land. We've sold over 14,000 side lots since 2014. So if you have a house and there's a piece of vacant land adjacent to it that's owned by the land bank, you can purchase that lot for $100. It's called a side lot.
$100.
$100, and that price hasn't changed, and it won't change according to our agreement with the city. But if the lot is not a side lot, we really didn't have a mechanism to sell it. If that lot is across the street from you, or maybe it's around the block, or maybe it's a side lot, it's adjacent to someone else's house and they've decided not to purchase it, we really didn't have a way to sell that. So that was very frustrating to people, understandably so. And we really needed to address that. So starting last fall and working with City Council and their staffs and the Department of Neighborhoods at the city, we came up with a new policy called our vacant land policy to make it easier for people living in Detroit to have access to the land that's around them. And now you can purchase lots that are called neighborhood lots, and it doesn't have to be adjacent to your house in order for that to be available to you to sell. So we had that policy approved earlier this year by our board of directors, and we're in the process of figuring out how to automate that and expect to launch that program this fall. With COVID, it's taken us a little bit longer than we would like to get some of these things done, particularly launching new programs, because we usually do those in the form of big public meetings where we invite everybody into the room, and obviously we can't do that right now. So, but those properties will be for sale starting this fall, and I think people are really going to take advantage of it. We know there's a lot of pent-up demand to purchase that property, and so that's the direction we're moving in.
Yeah, there's a lot of pent-up demand, and we see the real estate market doing very, very well. And so who are your primary customers of the Detroit Land Bank Authority? Are they investors? Are they out-of-town investors? Who is your primary you
So
know.
this is one of the things I love to talk about because I think it's one of the biggest myths of the land bank. I think there is this myth out there that we only sell to investors and that most of our buyers are out of towners. Our data shows that's not actually true.
Okay.
70% of our buyers live in Detroit at the time they make the purchase. They also tend to be folks who are renters at the time who are looking for, this is a viable option to move into home ownership. They tend to be Detroiters, they tend to be African American, they tend to be, not necessarily in a high income bracket. And the price point of our structures allows them to move into the housing market. And we're incredibly proud of that and want that to continue. There are certainly investor sales that go on out there. The whole point of a blind auction is that we don't know who's bidding until there is a winner identified. And so the way we are measuring this is we do exit interviews once that sale is complete to figure out more information of the buyer. And that exit interview tells us these folks are actually Detroiters. And I think if you talk to any staff member who actually works at the land bank, you would find that that's the thing that we're most proud of, that we actually are making an impact for people who live here, who've lived here for a long time and want to see neighborhoods become more stable than they may have been in the past few years.
Yeah, I think that's terrific. And I mean, I just, and plus I see not only Detroiters enjoy home ownership and enjoying purchasing land, I see out of towners also coming, not necessarily dealing with the Detroit Land Bank, but from New York City, from San Francisco, from Los Angeles, everybody's flocking to Detroit. And I talked to a gentleman on 313 Believe a couple years ago who moved from Queens, or actually Brooklyn, to Detroit, and he said Detroit is the new New York. So
well, investors are definitely coming to Detroit, and they are purchasing property from the Detroit Land Bank Authority. I just want to make sure that people understand you can have both. So we have enough in our inventory that we can allow new people to move here, spend money in Detroit, add to the economic overall investment that we really need, but we can also sell to native Detroiters. And that when you actually have 66,000 pieces of vacant land and an additional 20,000 structures, there is room for both of those things to coexist. And we built a program that allows it.
Beautiful. And you're leading the nation in terms of, having a viable business model that not only profits people, but profits the city of Detroit, and doing it in an intelligent manner, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some work to figure out what the economic benefit of all of this is. Over $600 million of investment in Detroit that wouldn't have occurred but for these sales that the land bank is making. That's new tax revenue, it's new people who are living here, working here, shopping here, and they're doing that because they purchased a property in the Detroit Land Bank Authority. And that is incredibly important work, and we just want it to continue. We'll never turn a buyer away at the door. We want people to come in and purchase this property and put their own stamp on it and make it their very own. And we will only be successful when we don't own any more houses.
That's a beautiful mission, and I'm sure the mayor loves what you're doing. The governor loves what you're doing. I mean, it's just terrific. So, so when the whole COVID thing struck, how well, I'm going to guess sales might have gone down, or it became more challenging, or how long you got, how are you guys reinventing yourself?
Well, one of the things that it was incredibly difficult, but was very successful. And I just have to give a shout out to the land bank staff because I cannot say enough about how well they did this. So we recognized what was going on out in the health community. We knew that this was going to be a problem, and we basically started working on a Friday to figure out a way to send everybody to work from home remotely. And by that following Tuesday, we had everybody stood up to work to do everything that they could remotely. And we've been doing that ever since. So wow. The biggest impact of COVID for us is that we can't do the amount of face-to-face out in the community work that we're accustomed to doing. We normally have big meetings, we do sales events, we do community walkthroughs, we have partnerships all over town, that we do office hours out in the community. There's a number of things that we've spent a lot of time building in the community over the past couple of years that we really had to cease doing because it's just no longer safe. So we had to figure out how to do online events. We had to figure out how to make sure all of our staff could stay connected to one another over Zoom and Teams and all of that, and it's worked. So we had a definite dip in our sales early on when this first happened in March and April, but once the kind of summer kicked around, our sales have been very strong. I think that people are seeing this as a time to invest in whatever resources they have. They're putting it towards home ownership, and our sales have been surprisingly strong. And we don't know how long that will continue, but we're here working remotely, make sure that all of that keeps going. And our investment in technology over the past couple of years really made it easy for us to do that.
Great. Well, we're going to sell 80,000 properties, right? Some 80,000. So how does the DLBA prioritize Detroit residents? Like, is there, is it how does it make property, buying really accessible? Do they do a lot of checking, or is there? So, I mean, because I know it's kind of like a blind process, like you said.
So it is a blind process. We don't. Sorry.
Okay. Like I said, I got Mike the Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
See, look, his tongue's out. Michigan Humane Society from Detroit.
So we really, it is buyer blind, but we're not doing any financial checking, so you don't have to have a high credit score.
Really? That's incredible.
We don't do any credit score checking. You just have to have enough resources to purchase the property, and then over time be able to bring it back up to code. We also do several discounts. If you want to go through a home buyer training, you can get a 10% discount off of property. We also do discounts for people who are educators in the city of Detroit, and city of Detroit employees get discounts on properties. We also have a community partnership program, which I don't think gets enough attention. So if you have a nonprofit or a church or community group that wants to do work in the city, we have a number of those right now, and we can sell property through that mechanism. And whether it's to build a park or to actually renovate housing to provide to your constituents, we have a group of people on our staff who are designated to work with those nonprofits, and we continue to do that.
Wow, that's amazing. So have you seen since about, especially 2014, people that bought property from Detroit Land Bank, and then they saw their investment just rise and make a huge, I hate to say killing and profit, because Detroit's been great. I mean, you've probably seen a lot of success stories.
So yes, we've seen a lot of success stories, but we tend to focus on just the before and after. We're not in it so that people can make money, or even so that we can make money. We're in it.
Although they are.
Yeah. And maybe they are, but I really think what's more important is that there's a family living in those houses. And if you go on our website, we have pictures of before and afters. Our social media, always at Transformation Tuesday, you're always going to see the story of somebody who took a land bank house that was pretty dejected and run down and turned it into something that a family can live in. And we continue, we're trying to do a better job of telling the stories of the people who've actually moved into our houses, so that we can just show the benefit of participation.
And live there and revitalize. What? Tell me more about this Transformation Tuesday. Where can people find that?
So our website is buildingdetroit.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram under that same buildingdetroit.org moniker. And you can find us in both places. That all the information on how to purchase our property is listed out pretty clearly on that website. You can also interact. You can ask questions on our Facebook platform. We have an email inbox. All of that can be found online.
Terrific.
You can see the properties of what we have, pictures of the properties we have to sell, and also some pictures of what they look like once somebody's actually poured the love into them that they so desperately need.
Beautiful. And so people will just go to buildingdetroit.org to find these amazing values, and also to be able to find a new place to live and experience home and property ownership. So we've pretty much discussed all the different DLBA programs that you guys offer, including the nonprofits and all.
The important ones. Yep.
Yeah. Terrific. And so if people have questions or want to learn more about the Detroit Land Bank Authority, where would they go, and how would they learn more? You touched upon that already, but how any other programs or anything you're offering, or any other events once things open up?
Well, once we're able to do things in person, we'll go back to doing our building blocks events where we pick a neighborhood and we highlight everything that we have to sell. We usually partner with a nonprofit or a church in that area. We're still doing those, but we're doing them remotely. So you'd have to find information on those on our website or on Facebook or Instagram. And we're gonna, this COVID issues, I think we're gonna continue for the next several months. So we're really trying to drive all of our traffic towards our website and our social media platforms, because I think that's the best way to get out information, because we're just not as able to be there in person. We can meet with you in person by appointment only. We're trying to make sure that we follow all the governor's required safety protocols in order to do that, but we are available to meet in person. Again, information on how to do that is on our website.
Very fascinating. So you come from from government a little.
Yeah. So I grew up here in Detroit, and I went to Cass Tech, and then I went off to school, and I got a master's degree at Michigan, and started my career again working in the city of Detroit. I did some work for some nonprofits, and then I worked for the mayor of Detroit. Several mayors ago, I worked for Dennis Archer, and then I left Detroit for several years and worked in other cities, but always for city government, and always, kind of around these same issues of how to make sure that we're building a strong community and investing in every way that we can. So
Wonderful.
I've been back here for 3 years running the land bank, and it's been pretty amazing.
So really, I feel like the Detroit Land Bank Authority really is offering people the best of both worlds, because it offers them terrific investment in a city that's growing exponentially, and at the same time is also helping the city of Detroit.
And it's hard work. Our properties need a lot of investment, and I don't want to sugarcoat that in any way, shape, or form, but it is doable, and we want to partner with you to help you get you through that renovation process.
Right. So because I actually met like a year ago a gentleman that I think had bought a couple properties from the Detroit Land Bank on Broad Street, the street that my grandfather used to own a house on, and he said, yes, there's all these requirements. I have to jump through the hoops. I have to make sure it's brought up to code, and that's great, because we want to give Detroit a good reputation, that people are building, it's up to code and the houses are great, and the Detroit will continue to be revitalized, and this has been terrific. So people again can visit you at DetroitLandBank.org, and also inquire at DetroitLandBank.org. Is there anything else you want to say, or anything?
The website is buildingdetroit.org.
Building Detroit. Sorry, that's the email, Detroit Land, but it's buildingdetroit.org, and let's see.
The email is inquire@buildingdetroit.org, but on the website is buildingdetroit.org.
Right. So everything, social media, buildingdetroit.org. The website is buildingdetroit.org. Check it out. They probably have stuff going on right now as we speak, right? We got some amazing.
Always hundreds of properties listed.
Hundreds of properties. And how many again? We have 86. Did you?
Well, 20,000 structures. So there's always several thousand structures available for sale at any given time. And we keep, as we get them prepped for sale, we keep pushing new ones all the time.
Have you ever had, just as a side, any structures in Boston, Edison area or anything?
Years ago. So when the land bank first
People
started,
snap those up.
there were several properties over there, and but most of those, we kind of move as the market moves. So, but
Sure.
we have lots of other really great neighborhoods available. So
yeah, and there's a lot of neighborhoods revitalized. They're already, a lot of them are great, and everyone's flocking to Detroit. So thank you so much, Saskia, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We Believe show. We really appreciate it, and thank you to Alyssa and everyone there at the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Sounds like you guys are cranking along, and so everyone go visit the buildingdetroit.org, and please check it out. And thank you so much for coming on. And 313 Believe, you'll see this on our channel, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, and thank you so much for coming again, Saskia, and say hi to the doggies for me. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, bye-bye.